I've mentioned before that one of my mentors, actually before I even went to seminary, was Reverend Frank Pounders. He was one of the ministers in Unity of Arlington in Texas, and he always told me, make sure you try your best to use the right words to describe what you're talking about. And so Reverend Francie received something on Facebook, I think it was this week, that I really thought was a good choice of words. So I decided to change my own wording on something. And at home, we all have a bathroom at our home. You can call it different things, but it is called the John sometimes. And I thought, John, I don't really like that name, so I'm going to call mine Jim. And so I renamed it Jim, and then when anybody asked me about anything in the, about how I'm doing and feeling and everything, I'll say, well, I go to the gym at least once a day, usually twice. The conversation of my demise is well overrated. As you can see, I'm standing in front of you. I was not feeling well last week, so I appreciate the week off. Thank you, Reverend Francie. It was your turn anyway, so it worked out good. Welcome to a new year, 2019. Isn't that great? Man, I tell you, just think of 2019. Wow. Some of us are old enough to think that that's getting up there. I mean, just think when 2080 comes, they'll be thinking of us old farts of 2019. How did they ever live in those conditions? Well, the theme this year for Unity is One Humanity, Many Stories. And I was actually reading some things from Unity World Headquarters, and I mistook the theme for being love, but love fits in that, obviously. But I was going off of, when I wrote this talk, I was going off of love being the theme for this year, which is fine, because what I wanted to talk about anyway this first Sunday of the new year was walking in grace. And grace, a lot of people know what grace is, and some people think they know what grace is, and Unity has its own, I guess, definition of grace, but it's no different than anybody else's. And I always thought, being raised in Unity and everything, that I knew what grace was, but of course, I don't think it's only this question. Well, I know it isn't only this question, but during my LNOs, which is our licensing and ordination interviews, which we have to go through to become ordained, I was asked that question a couple of times, and I guess I got it wrong both times because they kept coming back to it. But anyway, I made it through somehow. But walking in grace through love, you are going to be blessed. I want you to know that you're going to be blessed beyond measure this year. But what has to happen for us to receive that blessing? We have to be willing to accept it, right? Yeah. And it's no different now than any other year, but we have to be willing to accept it. I was thinking about Jerry and Janelle and all the people that we have had in this congregation. I've told y'all many times how wonderful of a healing consciousness that we have in this congregation. But let me tell you something. That doesn't mean I want each of you to have an ailment to come through it, all right? That doesn't mean that at all, okay? We don't have to experience bad to have good. Right. We can have good, better, best. It's always, you hear yin and yang and all that stuff all the time, and you have to experience the bad to have the good. Well, that's not true. You can have good, better, best. Because the better and the best is going to be better than the good, right?
Yes.
So if it's better than the good, you'll already experience something different, and that's all they're saying when you have to experience the bad to experience the good. Is that way you'll know the difference. We don't have to experience the bad. You don't have to. And this year, if you choose to do so, I think all of us can choose that fairly easily, especially now as a resolution or whatever. Change your bathroom name to Jim. We can choose to receive our blessings, right?
Yes.
We know this because of grace. Now, grace is a gift. Grace is a gift from where? From God, from the universe, right?
Right.
And when we talk about grace, usually that's what we all understand. We were raised knowing that grace is from God, right?
Right.
Well, grace is from God, but grace is from, when we say God, it's not a human being or a spiritual entity that is doling it out only to certain people. because grace is for everyone. And so, I've been dealing with, mainly because my son is in jail right now, but dealing with different people in different ways as far as incarceration. And what I want them to know more than anything, and us in here to know more than anything, is no matter what we've done to this moment, makes no difference as far as grace. Grace, the full grace of God is available to you right now. But again, it's the same as receiving any blessing. We have to be willing to what? Receive it. And the grace of God is more than just, I forgive you for what you've done in the past. It's a lot more than that. I don't only forgive you for whatever you've done in the past, but I still love you 100%, and you can have all the blessings of the universe still. Even though you've done whatever you think is horrible, and maybe society even claims it is horrible. All right? Maybe I think it's horrible. And still, the Christ within you has that connection to God, doesn't it? And that connection is stronger than anything. And when we understand that, we can accept the blessings of grace. The grace of God is God's unlimited love for you. Man, if we think of that, how many people have experienced unlimited love? Not as many as I'd like. Come on, how many people have experienced it? And it's okay if you haven't. I just want to know if you have, because it is wonderful. Now, how many people have given unconditional, 100% love, unlimited love? See, everybody's hand can go up on that. Now, we don't have to. We don't have to. If we haven't, then let's be honest about it. Don't even fib into ourselves, right?
Do your animals count?
Yes, they do. Your animals do count. That's a good thing, Sandy. That's a good point. If you can give unconditional love to your animal, because animals most of the time give you unconditional love, correct? Then you can see what's possible, right? And if you see what's possible, then you can see what can happen, maybe just possibly, between a human being and another. Right? And if you've experienced that, I know most people with kids have experienced that, grandkids, whatever. It's such a wonderful thing. Such a wonderful blessing to be able to give unconditional love.
Right.
You might have thought I was going to say get it, didn't you?
Right.
It's not as good as far as giving it, believe it or not. Because when you give it, what happens? You are so open to all of theirs that they give into you. And whether the other person or whether the feeling is reciprocal at that moment or not makes no difference, because you are giving it unconditionally. And I've mentioned before that that's the way Fillmore always taught as far as giving of tithes and offerings. Give it unconditionally. The reason he did that is because it's biblical. But the reason they talked about it is because of the fact that when we give things unconditionally, then we don't have ties to it anymore. So it can't. What happens when you have a tie to something?
Hold it back.
You can pull it. You can think that you can pull it back, or it can pull you down. Right? What are anchors for? They're to stop a ship, right? And they're tied to it, right? The ship is tied to it. There's a reason for it, because it wants to stop it. And the reason it wants to stop it is because it doesn't want to go forward anymore. We as human beings shouldn't want to be stopped. We may be in a comfortable place in our life, but that will not last forever. It can be comfortable forever, but the place you're in won't be the same place. Do you understand that? It's just not the same place. It can't be. The universe is moving all the time. And we have to be open and ready for new blessings all the time. And in order to do that, we have to give the blessings that we have to offer, which you have many to offer, through the grace of God, which is given to you unlimited. Now, what do we have to do? This is a tricky one. Real tricky question. What do we have to do to receive God's grace? Who said nothing? Oh, Dee Dee did. 0. You sure about that, Dee Dee? You sure about that?
Be open to it.
Yeah, she's right. She's right. You don't have to do anything for it. It's the unconditional love coming to you. Like when you give it to your pet or your other person, God, the universe, is always giving that to you. That's why we see things that we say are not good or whatever in the universe. Why? Because the universe, when we think of something, when we think that we need to do something and act in some way, the universe says what? Yes! I'm behind you. And sometimes that infringes on somebody else if we're thinking something that's not what we claim is not as good, right? So you don't have to do anything for God's grace because God loves you 100% unconditionally right here, right now, no matter what you have done, what you are doing, and God, the universe, says yes to you on those things that you are doing, which is good if we can use it for good, or we can use it for good. So, I wanted to tell you a story about a guy. Is this that frame? I think it is. Yes, A Life of Well Living. A guy that, he's an older gentleman now, but y'all probably know him. He started in Tallahassee, Florida, about 40s, I think, 1940s. Was born in there. And as he grew up, he grew up with the idea during that time, and even my time, a lot of people told you, if you work hard, everything's going to work out. How many people heard that? If you just work hard, everything will work out, right? Well, I don't know if that's the case all the time nowadays. Back then the companies were behind their, they stuck with their employees and employees stuck with them, but now it's not that way at all, is it? Everybody goes every which way. So, and it doesn't mean it's different or it's changed as far as that if you work hard, you will make it. But the difference is you're not going to be in the same place all the time. So it's more of an obvious thing of what's happening in the universe is it's always changing. But anyway, this gentleman was raised with the idea you work hard and everything will work out. He was raised in a very poor family. But always as a kid, his aunt, I think it was Nellie, would always make these chocolate chip cookies that he loved. And so he loved visiting Aunt Nellie and go to her house and get the chocolate chip cookies. Well, over time, he became a young man and an adult and was out looking for a job, and he loved music. So he thought he'd try music. Got fortunate enough to get in with this music studio and signed a group that I don't know if you ever heard about, but he signed Simon and Garfunkel. And so, he thought, well, this is pretty cool. I'm really enjoying myself. I want to experience more things, new things. But, as working for a studio and finding talent is one thing, but you don't get all the money that everybody gets from after that, He wasn't their manager or anything. He just found the talent. And so he decided to move to California and went to California and opened up his own music studio. He thought out there with all the talent, he'll have no problem. Well, he went out there and did have problems. There was a lot of competition and he didn't make it like he thought he would. So he was, off and on still going back to when he was down and making his Aunt Nellie's cookies. Well, he changed the recipe a little bit because he thought it'd make it better, and it did. And so he decided out there, these cookies are so darn good. I think I'm not doing good in the music industry out in California. I think I'll just open up my own cookies, try to sell these cookies. Ended up selling them and put his name on them, and the name was Famous Amos. Wallace Amos, went by Wally. But anyway, he sold that brand later to who? Nabisco, and made quite a bit of money. But during that time, it wasn't always sweet, times, because he hadn't been really in it. Obviously, first time he was in business was the music business, and it didn't work out too well. Even in the cookie business, he still didn't know how to manage it that well, so ended up having to sell it to Nabisco. So, but anyway, he did the best, and everybody knows him now, right? Famous Amos Cookies. I mean, a lot of people know him. At least I do. Anyway, so he sold that, but he knew life isn't over. It wasn't over for him. So he kept doing other ventures. And now he has some brand, Kahuna Cookies. Have you ever heard of those? He owns that now, Kahuna Cookies. And so he's been very successful, but he's been successful not only in the cookie business, but other things. But he's always looking for something new. He knows that he can't sit on his laurels because that won't work. Just because you work hard and you make it to one point in your life where you think, I've made it now. If you stop, you're not going to make it now. You have to continue to go. Life is moving all throughout it. I think it's funny that I've never known anybody, I don't know how many retirees you know, but I've never known a retiree in my life that has been less busy when they retired after they retired. They think that they're going to retire and everything's going to be cool. We're just going to take it easy and go travel and all that. But I've never known anybody like that. They may travel and stuff, but they still are busier then after they've retired than when they were at work. I don't know if that's been your experience or not. It's been mine. But the point is that we always should be looking for a new experience in life, a new way to show people unconditional love. And if you've ever seen Mr. Amos, he's a very fun-loving guy. Here's his picture now. And, you've seen him in funny hats and all sorts of different things because when he was selling the cookies, but that's him now, and he's, enjoying life like he should. But the universe knows if our heart is into what we are doing. The universe knows that, doesn't it? We know it more than anything, and that's the main thing. We know it. That doesn't mean that we're always going to be able to do what our passion is at this moment. His love at first was music, right? And he made a big hit right off the bat by finding Simon and Garfunkel. But then when he went out on his own, it didn't work. Well, does that mean he can sit there and keep doing it? No. Not if he wants to survive, right, financially. And so he has to switch up. Do something else. Because the great thing about our humanity, our human self, our human experience is that we love a lot more than one thing, don't we? How many loves more than one thing? How many loves more than one person? And when we can love more than one thing, we can do more than one thing, right? Can we experience more than one thing? Can we experience more than one blessing in life?
Yes.
Can we experience it at the same time?
Yes.
Yes, we can. I'm so glad for that. Really am. The universe knows if we are heartfelt in what we are doing. That's neat. Francie is so happy, and I am too, that she learned how to do GIS, which are movements in video and things, and see that heart beating. I'm so glad for her. It is cool. It is cool.
It is fun.
It's fun, and I like it. I'm glad you did.
Oh, just wait.
I better be watching it myself. But our church here this year it's first Sunday of 2019, and we've had this building plan for a while now. Now we're done with through the state regulations, and now we have to go through the county. But we can do that and live a wonderful life in other areas too. It doesn't have to, but even before we get there, our heart has to be in it, right? If our heart isn't in it, isn't in doing it, then we don't need to do it. And I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't. I'm saying we should do what our heart feels like doing. Okay? All of the universe's blessings, though, come to us when we are in alignment with the universe. What does that mean? Well, it means, how do we receive grace? We just be. We be the Christ self. That sounds funny, but we be the Christ self that we are. And what does that mean? Well, that means loving unconditionally. When you think of the Christ self within you, when you think of whatever you want to call it within yourself, when you think of God within you, God expressing as you, what do you think of? I mean, I trust that you think of only good things. Only good things. And if we experience that, if we see that in ourselves, a part of ourselves, each and every cell in our body, then we can share that with others. Not that I want you to come to church, you got to come to church here, you got to come to church there, but I'm going to go to church because I want to experience that feeling each and every week at least. Mm-hmm. That's why I went to church. That's why I stayed in unity. That's sort of why I went to seminary. There's a lot of reasons in that. 2019 is the best year of your life so far, I hope. Well, you got it going on, girl. So what do you think? Can you make it the best year of your life so far?
Yes.
You know, we had another, of course, most of the ministers that I refer to are old-time ministers, but anyway, we have a well-known minister in Unity, Phil Pearson, that he coined the saying, "The best is yet to be." And I appreciated that saying. I like it. And why can't the best be now? Good, better, best. And when you get to a best, that's your new good. Do you follow that?
Yeah.
Look at your life and think about the years before. I don't know if y'all have made resolutions yet, or have not. Well, I know you did, because everybody who was here for the Whitestone ceremony did something on their Whitestone ceremony. I hope that you sometimes look back at the old ones and look back and see what you wrote on them. And if you wrote something other than world peace or something, you can see how you have achieved that. And not only have you achieved that in your personal life, but you have achieved it in a much greater, quicker fashion than you ever had imagined. If I can only go to the gym this year, or whatever. If I can only do this year, right? But why is it you think that happens, that we achieve those goals quicker once we have them written down like that? It's because we've started thinking about it, isn't it? It's just that we put it in our mind that that's what we're going to do. That's what we want in our life. And that's what we have to do. That's where we have to start to make it the best year ever. Is what do we want in our life? And what do we want in our life that we can achieve through our Christ self, which is unlimited. We can do anything in that. But what I'm saying that for is, what really can we achieve that doesn't involve, okay, William has to do this for me to achieve this. Do you follow me? Okay? Don't put your achievements, don't put your goals on the back of somebody else. That isn't fair to you, and it isn't fair to the other person. Right? If only my marriage will be better this year. Right? You make it what you think it is. 2019 can be the best year of your life. And I hope it is. I think everybody in here hopes that each person's is the best year for them. And that's giving you unconditional love. And so you started off the year right. You've already given it here today. There's no need in stopping, because you're unlimited on unconditional love. And you're going to see a lot of blessings from it. Thank you for being here today, and happy 2019. This is going to be a good song. I was going to have you all say this.